Hello everyone, my name is Cap and welcome back to the channel. Another 7 days that I have video. I'm doing all this in Alpha 17 and this is the stable build 240. So it's no longer an experimental, it is in stable. Today we're going to be testing out candles in a similar fashion that we did torches last week or the week before last. And if they raise the heat map up by using them on their own, by placing them, and if they do summon in screamers. Now we did test that out with torches like I said, and we did find out, using torches, just placing them doesn't raise the heat map, but using them will over time, and eventually they will summon in some screamers. So just like I did last time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to craft a whole bunch of torches, and I'm going to place a bunch of them down inside this house. We'll go through and do this as we're going along here. I want to make sure that I'm crafting them properly instead of using the creative menu, just in case anybody out there is kind of curious as to whether or not it's going to affect it or not. So we're inside this house, we're inside a Navezgane map, whatever. It's a brand new created world. This is brand new, started just fresh tonight to be able to test this out. So we're going to get a couple of the candles placed in here. We'll probably do 20 in this house again, and then we're going to go down the road a little ways, a few chunks over, and place a bunch to see, if there's a huge difference between how much heat is actually generated between the two. And we'll kind of test that out, and then we'll kind of hang out throughout the day and see what it does. So we'll place a couple of them up over here, and we'll test it out. I'll go ahead and bring the heat map up right there, so you can see it, and I'll blow it up on the screen again like I did last time, so you can see as I'm placing these that it's not raising the heat map up just by placing them. Same thing with the torches, just placing them on the walls or falling through the floor. That doesn't do anything to the heat map. Just placing them on there is not going to do anything. So to try and keep the video as short as possible without being excessively long, because I don't really have to have a long speech or anything in this one, I'm going to go through and, like I said, place about 20 torches in this house. And so I'm just going to wait for them to finish crafting, and then I'll finish placing all of them at the same time. That way it kind of raises the heat up at the same level. So we'll check back in once all the torches are done being made. Alright, so we have 40 candles that we made. We let it sit here and just craft for a while. I took down the other ones right after I ended the recording so they wouldn't start raising the heat up on their own, because I wanted to go up as a collective whole. So, like I said, I'm going to place about 20 of them inside this house. If I can stop falling in that little hole, it'd be great. I'm just kind of spread them in outside the house a little bit. Same thing I did with the torches, because this is kind of how you would do this in real life. You're not just going to all have them in the same room. If I can find a spot to place it, there we go, that'll work there. So I need to get down to, I had 40, so I get down to 20, I should be okay. Like I said, just placing them around here. I'm hoping, another hole in the floor there, that it doesn't cause some frame drops. I know in the last experimental build, when I was placing a bunch of torches, the more I got on here, the more it raised the heat up. Or not raise the heat up, but sorry, the more it dropped some frames, it was becoming really annoying on my part at least. I mean, nothing you guys had to see or deal with or anything, because you're just watching the video, but let's see. So we put some, there's some spacing issues, put one right there, we'll put some down below, it doesn't necessarily matter. Okay, so that should be 20. So you can see just right now that the heat is still at 0, because I just placed these, so they're not doing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head down the road now, and we'll build some down there. Alright, so a little ways down the road, I tried to go a little bit further this time than I did in the last one, just so the chunks aren't so close together, but we'll go through and place these here. I just build a basic wooden tower. I know when I'm playing in the game a lot, I use light towers like this, especially during horde nights. If I'm using torches or candles, doesn't necessarily matter, because they work the same way, but I'm doing the same thing here just to kind of see how well it works out if they're all in the exact same unit outside. I'm assuming it's going to work the same way it did with the torches, but we're going to do this anyway. And again, just placing them, you can see on the screen here that raises the heat to 0. Didn't do anything with it. So placing candles, placing torches does the same thing. So we're going to head back down here, and then we're going to pop up inside the house and just kind of sit there and let it run for a little while. This is the fun part that I get to do on my own time off camera, is just to sit in the house and see what it does. Hey, no frame drop, still good, solid 60 here. Heat still at 0 over here. It's 12:35 in the middle of the afternoon. We're going to come hang out upstairs and just sit here and see what this chunk does. Once it pops back up, then we'll keep an eye on the heat, and I'll also keep an eye on making sure if it's going to spawn any screamers or not. So let's just kind of hang out here and see what happens. Alright, it is now a little bit after 7 o'clock in the evening here, and you can see now the heat is up to 20%. And also, if you look at the XML files or whatever like that, you'll see that the total heat map strength for candles is only 1, versus for torches is 4.05. So having 20 torches in here, it went up by 1, so it's up at 20%. So we'll fly down here to the other chunk to see if it did the same thing. I have to assume it probably did if it's been long enough for this to go, but I sit there for a long time before it actually went up very high. Now, we know for normal screamers it takes the heat map to get to 100 before it wraps back around to get to 0. What I'm going to do now is so we can see that it does actually raise the heat up, is I have to assume that over time it'll continue to go up as long as these torches are, as long as these candles are here. So we're coming up, get a little bit closer towards the evening time here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sit here and check the Elite command to see what things show up. Right now it's just me. There's a loot container somewhere nearby, probably in this house, and a deer running around somewhere. But that's the only type of entities that's actually out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit here like I did last time and see if A, the heat goes up any more over time, like it could possibly do so, and if so, if it does summon in a screamer. So if you'd be better off using torches or candles as your light. Now, I've showed in a previous video that torches put off the most amount of light for your money versus any other light source there is except for the spotlights. They are the best source of light. But candles do work pretty well, and if you got 20 of them in your house, 20% heat increase isn't too terrible. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're just going to sit here and see if we see anything spawn in. Right now there's nothing here. We'll kick back in here in just a little bit and see what happens. Alright, just checking in here. It is 5 o'clock in the morning and kind of just sitting at the same house in the process of crafting some more candles here. As you can see over on the left hand side, and I have it blown up here, is that the heat is up to 40%. So over time it did go from 20 to 40 because that's just how the actual heat map works or whatever. It's like over time it'll continue to go up. Each torch will raise it by 1 in a certain amount of time within the game. Depending on the game settings, of course, it will go up at a certain rate, and so right now it's at 40. Now I have to assume if nothing changes that over time, you know, it would go back up to 60, 80, and 100 and possibly spawn in a screamer. But so far we are coming up at, you know, we're 5 o'clock in the morning on day 2. This has been running for a good little while now. And that it's sitting at 40%, so it's definitely going a lot slower than it was with torches. I've been sitting here watching it all night. There's been one or two. Let me see, Steve and a businessman ran by. They haven't actually come into the house yet, or at least if they're not, if they are, they haven't seen me yet. But I'm kind of just chilling, because I'm making a bunch more candles so I can do some more testing. And so yeah, pretty much it's kind of what I thought it was, that, you know, the candle's going to raise it by 1 over a certain amount of time and it'll continue to go up. But as far as just quickly spawning in a screamer in the same day, so far it hasn't happened, but we'll just kind of hang out till daylight and see what happens. Okay, so you can see it is 7:45 in the morning. We are back to safe time again. We've got the same 20 candles in the house as we did before. Heat map is still sitting at 40% because 20 candles with a heat map frequency 15 and the actual heat map rating at just a solid 1 is only going to go up 1 per candle. But 20 candles is enough to light up quite a bit of a house. I mean, if I was going to spread it out a little bit, I could light up the inside and outside of this house just fine. Now let's head down the road and see if this did anything useful down here. I'm not quite sure if this little, this other podium we had set up down here will change anything or not. It's far enough away, it may not have affected the actual house itself. Let's see here. So, it's kind of a strange result. Now, I don't know for certain if this is because I wasn't down here or not. I'm not quite sure exactly why there's no heat on this one specifically, when this one over here was working. I'm not quite sure exactly why there's a difference between the two. But down here, you can see that it is actually working. So at least when it's still in the same chunk I'm in. Now, that could be possibly what it is. I don't know exactly how many chunks away that is. I can still kind of, let me see if I float up here. If I can, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit. So can you even see the torches? Let me see here. Let's see if, okay, so maybe that's what it is that if you're far enough away that it unloads them from the chunk that's there and it'll keep the heat from spawning. That's going to be an entirely different test, and whether or not the heat map will actually work across multiple chunks or not. We know if it's close by it will, because it propagates into more than one, but that's kind of interesting. So anyway, hopefully this was useful to you guys. If you're going to load up your house full of torches or candles, just know that it is going to raise the heat map. Eventually it will raise it high enough up to where you will get a screamer in there. With candles, at least it goes at a much slower rate than with torches. It's sitting at just a 1. It's not going to go up very fast. I have to assume when it gets to 100, it'll spawn in a screamer just like normal. But here we are coming up on, you know, a full 24 hours of being in the same house with the candles, didn't see a scream responding at all. So I think you'd be pretty much okay. Of course, you could always just pick them up off the wall when you're done with them. You know, if you just want to light up through the night or whatever, then pick them up and take them with you. And then eventually, once the heat tick count goes back down and stuff, the amount of heat that you have in your house will go back down. Once there's something not generating heat, the heat will go down over time. So there you have it. Hopefully this was useful and halfway beneficial to you guys. If you did enjoy the video, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button down below. And if you got any questions or comments on, you know, things I should have tested differently to get a different result, you know, of course, leave it in the comment section down below so I and other people can see it and get an idea of, you know, if I missed something, because, you know, I'm human, it happens. But other than that, you know, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And smash that little bell icon and you'll get notified when a new video goes live. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for your time. You have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later.